Hello, welcome to our second episode in the editing series. If you saw the first one, I tried sort of recording myself as I edited the videos, but I'm not convinced that that was the best way to go. I ended up with a lot of footage and had to cut it down quite a lot, so it was kind of sped through and you missed some bits, and I didn't think it really truly showed you my editing process. As before, this still isn't sort of a tutorial on how to edit your images, just to kind of show you the process that I go through when I'm looking at my images and what it is I'm trying to find in them to make sure that they're good ones. So we're going to do it a bit differently today. I watch Sims videos sometimes, and they sometimes do speed builds, so they kind of film themselves building a house and then they speed it up and they do a voiceover over the top. So I'm thinking we're going to try that today, especially as we're looking at the images I took at Westonbirt, and there was a lot of them. So it's going to take me quite a while to get through. I also quite like watching movies when I'm editing, so this meant that I could edit my images and watch film, and then now we'll go through that together and I'll kind of talk through some bits and pieces as we go. I have my batteries on charge, so I should be ready for tomorrow. So let's go. Really enjoyed the Westonbirt trip. It was really nice. I mean, the sun wasn't shining, but actually I think that worked to my advantage to some extent. If it had been too sunny, then I think it would have probably been more difficult and challenging to take the photos. Because it was sort of an even lighting, it really helped. And there was a little bit, so there's a little bit of light shining on some of these leaves, which I really like, but just the colour was amazing. I mean, look at the reds and the greens and the yellows. It's just you just only see it in autumn, don't you? And autumn is definitely my favourite time of year. Much easier editing these photos than it was the Puzzlewood ones as well. Part of that, I mean, I sifted through these photos on my camera first and deleted any that were out of focus, or I just got cropped slightly wrong, stuff was going out of the frame a little bit. And then I uploaded these ones to start editing, and there was still 262 images. So there's a lot to go through here. So I'm trying to be fairly decisive and crack through them. Just, if any, just even slightly questionable, just move on. The problem is I did like quite a lot of them. So yeah, there was still a lot of editing to do. So this, I think the video is going to be about 25 minutes long. I spent over 2 hours editing, so we're going at speed here. You might notice that I seem to be doing a fair bit of cropping. It's quite interesting watching myself edit again, because it's making me wonder whether I need to spend a bit more time when I'm taking the photos actually paying attention to the surroundings. I do often crop to be square, and I think that's because partly I think that's the influence of Instagram, although it now allows different shaped images, doesn't it? But to start with, it was always square. And part of it I think is because the top and the bottom or the sides of my images are always just a bit boring, so I just cut them out. So I do like a square crop. And maybe that's just part of my style and part of my preference. These little cones that we're going through now, they were so small and so cute. I really, really liked them. And there's some really nice pictures of them. There's just something about pine cones, isn't there? When we get to the end, or nearer the end, there's one that I took just almost as I was heading out, and I'm absolutely obsessed with it, so I'll point that out when we get through. I really enjoyed using my macro camera as well. The background effects, because it just blurs out so much of the background and you can really focus on the leaves. I think that was really good. And there's a few that have got that kind of bokeh style behind them as well. I really enjoyed using my macro camera. I really enjoyed using my macro camera as well. The background effects, because it just blurs out so much of the background and you can really focus on the leaves. I think that was really good. And there's a few that have got that kind of bokeh style behind them as well. So I really like those. I did switch my lens a lot when we were going through that first bit, for sure. Yeah, there was definitely a lot of switching. Before this camera I had a bridge camera, and that was the one of the positives of it was that you didn't have to switch the lens. It had so much scope, but then it never would have been able to do the macro like this one does. So yeah, you end up getting skilled at holding a camera and two lenses at the same time whilst trying to move the lens caps across and switch things around. So there's always a bit of a knack to that. I think I've got it down to fine art now. But it's quite funny because if I ever go out with my friends and my camera, they're always like, do you need a hand? And I'm just so used to doing it, I don't even think about it anymore. It is handy. I think the coat that I wore on this one has got very useful pockets because they kind of, you can put your hand down into them rather than being sideways. So I can just pop my lenses in and they're much easier to grab and mess around with. So yeah, here's where I use the long lens to try and get those images of the trees. I really liked the colours of them. It's supposed to be a beech avenue, but there's definitely more trees in there than just beech trees. And you can see I play around with the crops as well, just seeing which one I prefer. Yeah, and I like sort of the greens and the yellows in the leaves as well, so, and the lights and shadows. So, oh, that was the tulip tree leaf. The size of them was amazing. And the, oh, this, okay, the bench, I think I talked through my process for this quite a lot in the Wandering Photography video, so go and check that out. It was in part 1. Fortunately, I think the differences in light between the background and the front weren't too bad, which was handy because I was expecting that to be a lot worse. I did edit 2 of the images. One I put in a square crop and this one I kept portrait because I just liked the trees reaching up into the sky and kind of that vertical element to it, which was something that appealed to me when I first saw the image. So that was really useful. Yeah, I do crop a lot of my images, don't I? But then I don't think that's a bad thing. I mean, that's the joy of having editing your pictures, having taken them. I don't know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I think that is one of the advantages, is that you can do that. That's the whole point of having Lightroom, so why not make the most of it? I loved this one. It looked like 2 dancers dancing with each other at a ball or being really energetic. It was really cool. Just these leaves in general, really, something about them really appealed to me. I think I took a whole load more as well, so I'll probably do a collection on Facebook and post a whole group of dancing leaves. I really like that concept. Just, yeah, something about the autumn colour of them as well. And then I think because they're those ones that have got several points spiking out, they kind of look like arms and legs, which is really nice, and the head as well. Yeah, so the dancing leaves of Westonbirt. Yeah, Westonbirt's definitely one of the places I always go for autumn colour. I know I live in the Forest of Dean. I need to do a bit more scoping out of where the autumn colour is. I think last year it was really windy, so a lot of the autumn colour was knocked off, but a lot of it also is pine, and so it doesn't really go particularly autumnal. It's green all year round. Yeah, let me know in the comments if there's any places you like to go for your autumn colour, so that I can try and go somewhere new next year. I'll probably still go to Westonbirt, but it'd be really good to go and explore some different places. So let me know down in the comments where your favourite places are to go for the autumn colour. I think there's part of it that's to do with just the leaves going over that really appeals to me. There's something about, I sound really deep, about life and death, and the leaves just kind of on their way out, but that's when they look their prettiest. Sort of like life. The more you go through, the more you learn, the more you can develop and be beautiful on the inside, I suppose. Yeah, so there's something about the leaves that are a bit like that. There's lots of little bugs on these leaves. I've no idea what they were. It was odd. Yeah, so I'm just really obsessed with these. I've got some pictures of flowers in my downstairs toilet that I took, and half of those are kind of ones that are starting to go as well. There's just something about them that I like. The pink on the stems of these leaves and onto the berries was just incredible, and I really liked the colour contrast of sort of the pinky reds, the greens and the blues. I think I talk about it in one of the Wandering Photography videos a little bit, but I do a bit of watercolour painting as well, and part of that teaches about colour theory and using the colour wheel and putting contrasting colours together can really help with things. So red and green are contrasting on the colour wheel. So a lot of these autumn leaves are like that, because you've kind of got the reds and the yellows and then the green grasses, or there you go, a green bud on that one. So those contrasting colours I think are really helpful. I liked this one. It was kind of the pattern of it and the shapes that it made of the three leaves together was really good. Again, another square crop. I love rhododendrons. I don't know what it is about them. I just love them, and the colours. And those ones that were just starting to go were looking really lacy and dainty. Sort of, I think there's one coming up that kind of looked like butterfly wings, which is just really cool. This one here it is. So yeah, you've got the purples and the blues, and then that sort of little butterfly wing lacy effect of the flower just starting to go over in the middle. I love that. I think that's really cool. Yeah, I tried to get some of the leaves overlapping as well, because that's where you get a bit of shape and a bit of contrast. Just single individual leaves can start getting a bit samey, so I was trying to get something a bit different. This was the cover photo for the first video as well, and that's part of the reason why I do things like this, where I just try and get part of the leaf in. It's just trying to make it a bit more interesting than just a leaf, because once you've seen one or two of them, you've seen them all. I tried a bit of black and white there just to see what that looked like, but I mean, the whole point of this was the autumn colour, so although the shapes are cool in black and white, it's still not really going to do it, is it? The whole point is the autumn colour. Yeah, and those, the little, I can't remember what you call them, but I really liked those as a kid. I used to pick them up and collect them. And the Dr. Seuss style seed head. It was something about that bit just sticking out the top that made me think of Dr. Seuss and the little characters in the books and the films. I really like the films that are out, actually. They're really good. Definitely worth watching. And again, so trying to do something a bit different there of cropping in on that leaf. I really like this bud. I was quite interested, because you always think of autumn as being the time of year when things are going over, but there was still quite a lot of flowers and buds around. Little signs of what I would associate with spring, but really, yeah, really pretty to see at this time of year as well. So I guess that's sort of the start of their cycle, and then they go into hibernation. I don't know. I don't know enough about plants. I know a bit, but not enough. Yeah, so we're now kind of getting into the images from the second part of the Westonbirt Arboretum. Yeah, it was fairly busy. It could have been worse, because it was a weekday, which I think made it a lot easier. It did suggest pre-booking, but actually I don't think you had to for going on the weekday. It wasn't too bad. But it was half term, so there was still a fair few people around. But I think I find it anywhere you go, it feels really busy when you get to the car park, and then you kind of adventure out and get within sort of 15-20 minutes and you don't really see as many people. The kids especially were more interested in the play park and the Gruffalo Trail, so as long as you steered clear of that, it wasn't that bad. There were a few occasions I thought I was going to get taken out by a scooter, but it wasn't that bad. Yeah, there's certain parts as well, if you do go, that you can take the dog in. You can't take the dog into the old Arboretum, but you can take dogs into the new Arboretum. So there's definitely a lot of dogs running around, but similarly, it seems like people don't particularly venture too far from the main area. I guess I did walk probably 5 miles that day, so yeah, it might get a bit much for people with dogs or children to be walking that much. 5 miles, but I was there from 9:30 until 2:30, I think. So I definitely wasn't walking at speed, that's for sure. It was one of those things when you see something, so you stop and take a photo, and then you're like, oh, okay, I'll get walking again. You turn around and you go, oh, there's something else there, and then you turn around again and there's something else, and get to a certain point, you're like, okay, I've got to just walk now. I'm never gonna get anywhere. But it's nice to have one of those days, and particularly when I'd taken time off work to go. It was nice to feel like I got something out of it, and I have definitely got a lot of photos, and it was nice to just enjoy the day and be out with the camera. It always makes me feel better. I think there's maybe something about the fact that it makes you focus on what's around you and looking at what's around you, because one of the things they talk about for mindfulness, isn't it, going out into nature and just observing, and that's what photography does for me. I listened to an audio book by Jason Shetty called Think Like a Monk, and he was talking about one of the things that they do on their when they're teaching you and training you to be a monk. One of the things they teach you is you go on the same walk every day, every morning, and you have to try and spot something new every single time you go out. I guess that's kind of what photography does for me when I'm out and walking. It makes me properly look at what I'm walking past, so that I see what's there and I engage with it, I suppose. I can always tell if I've not been out with my camera for a while, because I really start to feel it, and I feel so much better after I've been out. So yeah, it was nice to get out and about, and we've had quite a wet summer really, so nice to have some dry weather too. There's some images like that I edit here, and I've realised that when I get to trying to put them into my videos or posting them online, that I go, what was I thinking? That's rubbish. It's funny how you can get through like 2 filters, think it's good, and then you get to the 3rd one and you're like, no, that's not great. But there's only so many leaf photos you can post as well, so you do have to start being a bit strategic, I think, and being a bit ruthless. And then you've also got to store them all somewhere as well, so that doesn't help. I mean, the amount of space photos take up is ridiculous. I really love these ones. The red going through the veins in the middle of the leaves is really cool. Yeah, just having to play around with the settings a fair bit there. I really don't do that much editing. I know I do a fair bit of cropping, but otherwise I just fiddle with the highlights, the shadows, the whites and the darks, and that's about it generally, unless there's something really specific I'm trying to go for. That's pretty much all I do. I did during COVID sort of teach myself a few bits in Photoshop, and I have learnt a few bits from different camera clubs that I've been to as well. But I'm never that interested in making it that complicated. It's good to take a good photo at the time if you can, for sure. And it's nice to be able to just fiddle around with it a little bit to get it how I saw it at the time. I think that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to show people what it looks like through my eyes. So that's what I'm doing when I edit my photos. It's like, what did I see? And this is what I'm trying to show people. So that's definitely what I aim for when I'm doing my editing. Benches. I took so many. I just always take pictures of benches. I think I'm going to have to do a bench collection. I don't know, collection of prints or collection of postcards. I don't know. There's something I like about the fact that somebody's specifically thought about that place to sit and rest. And they're always places for people to stop and take in what's around them, and I think I quite like that. I've got quite a few of benches by the sea and like looking out at the view, taking the picture from behind. And I quite like the benches being empty as well. It's kind of that invitation to come and sit and enjoy the view and what's around you. On one of the benches, I think a couple of benches ago, I definitely sat on that bench, and I think I could hear a buzzard. There was some bird of prey calling, and I was tempted to try and get to it because it sounded very close. When I say get to it, it was in a tree, so I wouldn't have got to it, but got near enough to see it and take a photo of it. But then I was looking, and there definitely wasn't any sort of clear path, or there was a lot of trees and foliage in the way, so I decided it's probably better to not get myself in trouble or get stuck, not find my way back out. But it was nice to hear. I always enjoy hearing the wildlife. In fact, we've got in here some spiders, or a spider, and a very, very small one. And there you go, good timing, and the squirrels too. I don't know what it is about squirrels, but I always hear them before I see them. And I could definitely hear this one rustling around in the tree. And there was quite a few people watching it as well, which always gives it away. But they've just got like this knack, haven't they, of always being in a place where you just... Oh, so it really looked like a rat when I zoomed in on it then. It really freaked me out when I did that. I don't really see them as rats, but they are a rodent, aren't they? So it makes sense. But yeah, this one was very skilled in making sure it was hidden behind the leaves until it ran over to this other tree where nobody else could see it, but I followed it a little bit. And so I could finally see its face and its eye. But it was definitely hiding. Well, you could see its body, but its eye would be behind the leaf, which was just really frustrating. But we got there. I don't know what it is. I mean, red squirrels in particular, I absolutely love. I've been to Brownsea quite a few times to see them, and I try and see them when I go up to Anglesey, which I go semi-regularly as well. Red squirrels I just think are the cutest, and the tufty little ears, but I also quite like the grey squirrels, even if it's their fault the reds are in decline. Maybe it's just the fluffy tail. And then I just go all despicable me and go, it's so fluffy! I like this leaf, it looked like it was blushing. I thought that was quite cute. And a bit of a contrast background with the yellow as well. Yeah, there was definitely a bit of wildlife around, which was nice. I don't know if I'm going to the wrong places, I just don't feel like I see as much wildlife these days as I used to. But then, when I used to live in Dorset, there was a lot of wildlife and I was very, very lucky, so I guess I have to accept that I'm not living there anymore. I thought I would see more in the forest, to be honest, than I do. I thought there'd be a lot more bird life around. But then I don't know if maybe people scare the wildlife off a little bit, or maybe the boar scare people off. Sorry, scare the wildlife off, not the people. Yeah, although you do have to steer clear of the boar, they can be quite dangerous. So you definitely keep your distance. There was a few of these, and more towards the end as well. They kind of have this dark pattern on them that make them look a bit like a tiger skin, which is quite cool. I like those. And lots of berries about as well. I thought they might have been eaten off by the birds, but still a lot of them about, so I'm sure the birds will be on those soon. Yeah, you can see I sometimes take 3 or 4 different photos of the same thing, but just in a different way. So partly that's just because it gives me options. Partly that's because I take the photo and then I go, oh, I wonder what happens if I do this, and oh, I wonder what happens if I do that. I do delete some of those when I go through it just on my camera before it even gets to this stage, but yeah, I tend to take a few. I also really need to sort out my shutter because for some reason when I press down on it, it seems to take, I sometimes hold it down too long and it'll take like 3 or 4 shots. I'm like, that's not what I want, I just want one photo. Don't give me loads, thank you. Oh, we're nearly at the photo that might even be one of my, it was definitely one of my favourites from this trip, and maybe one of my favourites from quite a long time. I didn't even notice what I was doing when I took it. It was only when I got to the editing that I was like, oh, okay, I really like that. I'll say that, we're nearly there. It's just the background of it was just, I just nailed it. There you go, this one. I think because I took it, it was really dark, but the light behind it is like perfectly shaped around the cone. Oh, yeah, look. Oh, it's just something about that, it makes it glow. Oh, love it. And I love when a photo does that. I really like these photos. The puzzlewood ones I found a little bit disheartening, as you could probably tell in the video. But these leaves are just amazing. Yeah, sometimes you get it and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you just have days that are a bit off, and sometimes you have days that are better. And this was definitely a good day. I mean, I had the day off work, so that helps too. But yeah, we're nearly at the end. So if you enjoyed this, then please like. If you've got any feedback on how I can improve the editing videos, then please let me know down in the comments. And I'll see you all soon. Thank you. Bye.